Welcome to LaTB, the only podcast that comes with a free Bandits bonus.
Express delivery included.
LaTB, where MMA and UFC get silly. This is the LaTB podcast.
Welcome back. We have a star-studded event. We got a mega pay-per-view on the way, on top of America's birthday. If you're living in the land of the free and the home of the brave, you're going to be celebrating over the holiday, and everyone's going to more than likely have a 3 to 5 day weekend on the way. And here, we're bringing it at you as early as we can. There's already been DraftKings lines out. There's bouts that are still yet to be put on the card, but hey, we were excited. Before we get into all that, how have you been? What have you been up to? How do you feel about this holiday coming around the corner?
Happy Independence Day. It's not going to get real until the aliens are here. But speaking of aliens, we're kind of time traveling. We're going to put this out early. One, because we're taking the holiday off. We deserve it. But we still think this is a big enough event. We want to break it down. So where are we at? And I don't want to even pretend. Not too much has happened since last time we were with you. I don't want to pretend that much. But I do want to say that this is a Jon Jones fight. Since we're coming out so early, we could miss chaos. Jon Jones could get pulled from the card. A fight could get added that we're like, oh my gosh, that fight's added to this? Something crazy could still go down. So where we're at, you just told me there's 11 fights.
Correct.
On what we think will be a 12-fight card.
If not 13.
And there's also one of the lines isn't released on DraftKings yet of a fight that just got added.
Correct.
So it is a little premature, but we're coming at all because we want to celebrate the Independence Day with you.
Definitely. But on top of that, if you haven't liked and subscribed, be sure to be following along at Zoltanite, at Weakneck Baby, at Lesbo and the Bean on Twitter, because we are, as the fights get connected, we will be posting stuff from all of our accounts and cumulatively to just give you a coercive kind of thread as far as what we think happens in the fights coming up. But as far as
or if you're an IG person, LATB_MMA, you can get our cards crystal clear, and that'll be the latest up-to-date info. And we'll probably get out our cards before everyone, the show out before everyone.
Definitely doing it here.
Early. Yeah.
We dropping it like it's hot. It's always good
to be. It is hot.
It is very hot.
Do you know how certain UFC pay-per-views have a theme? Is it fair to say this pay-per-view is the GOAT pay-per-view? It's the best woman and the best man in the UFC. Some would argue.
I could say that doesn't sound crazy to me, but at the same time, that GOAT term has been so loosely thrown around.
All you think of is Artem Lobov.
That's exactly it. So it's tainted in a way. So I'm like, there's going to be a lot of GOAT talk from this point on, but it is definitely going to be seeing some of the highest level caliber fighters we've ever had in the UFC, with Mata Leon in there and Jon Bones Jones. But as you're saying, we're all hanging on by the thread of our pants, by the seat of our pants here. It is. I mean, Jon Jones can pop for picograms. He can get in a car wreck, and they'll still move the fight card to wherever they need to in order to get it to be done in there. So Santos has probably got to have some sort of contingency, like, hey, if Jon Jones messes up, I still got to get paid. Like, what do you think the narrative is as far as the people that are willing to fight Jon Jones?
If he makes weight, he probably gets paid.
Regardless.
That's what I think. And they might give him a little more than win bonus if they decide to be fair. But I don't even want to talk about that. We should just get into it.
We should get into the 11 card bout as far as we have it right now. Again, DraftKings lines are up, but that's only 10 right now. So the first one, as far as we have it, at 135 pounds, we have one of the most dreaded double debuts ever on a pay-per-view bout. We're going to have the ladies showing out at bantamweight with Panini Kizarda against Julia Avila. Kazarda is coming out of Sweden. She's actually 27 years old with an 11-4 record. She's last lost to Macy Chiasson in a submission rear naked choke 6 months ago in the UFC. She was released from her contract after that. But that was also, I believe, in the Tough House. No, it was not. That was on the end show where Chiasson ended up submitting her. But she was released from the UFC after that point and beat via decision a 6-2 fighter out of the Lion Fight Series. I don't remember. Either way, this is a Tough House competitor who beat Kabitha on the house and Strakolia in the house as well. Swedish fighter likes to keep it striking. She has a solid jab. She'll throw a right hand, maybe a third punch on top of it. On the ground is where she tends to be more limited. She'll throw kicks every once in a while, but she's more of a counter striker. She sits back a little bit, doesn't move that much forward, but doesn't have tons of power. And on the ground, again, she can be exploited if she's fighting anybody who's talented in there. A 3-3 fighter, she got a decision win in there. High-level competitor, she beat in a decision again at 7-1, but I still see a lot of raw ability in the 27-year-old. She's still fairly young as far as MMA is concerned, and it shows out in there. She can be hesitant to pull the trigger, and her opponents have been able to pull through her in the wins that have happened. And I think that we have Julia that is that type of fighter. She moves forward with a 6-1 record, her only loss being in the Invicta series to Allen, and that was a TKO hand injury. That was her breaking her hand off of another woman's face and was like, I can't fight anymore. If you're going to lose, that's one of the ways to lose. That's like, hey, a lot of other fighters would stay in there with a broken hand, but we don't know what happened. I mean, she got surgery on it, so I'm assuming it was a pretty bad break.
I don't want to lose that way.
Good point. You could throw elbows like Faber.
I would like to lose by sleeper hold.
You go limp, you go Holly Holm in there.
I'll be like, that's how I'd like to do it. I would go out. I would just be like, you got me.
Interesting. So either way, the Invicta star in there has actually had worthwhile competition, which is probably the premier league to feed women into the UFC. Got to see some good amount of tape on her. She actually throws great 3-4 punch combinations. She'll start them off and finish them with kicks. So that's like money, money, money here at LaTB. We always love that type of style. On the ground, she likes to roll around, gets a little dirty in there. She can be a little scrappy. And that's kind of that same, we just saw fighter in Joey B, where technically it's somewhat sound, but just the squirminess of him can get it done. And she kind of has that style where she just turns into a ball, Tasmanian devil on the ground in there. So I think Avila, she's known to be a finisher. She actually has a hard right hand as well. But I think that we just see a one-sided fight here. We usually tend to tell you guys to stay away from these first fights of the nights, but there's going to be a couple more added on. So I think Avila's a play here. I think she can get the finish. Right now I have decision. I see myself moving that into a round number 2 or 3 just because the pressure of Avila moving forward is really something we like to see here. Especially at this low-level competition. You don't have to worry about being exploited in the counter-striking of Panini in there. The Bronzy? What's her nickname there? Banzai? Banzai?
Against the Raging Panda. I just am going to go with Raging Panda because I think she looks strong. I'm going to stay away from this. This is that LaTB rule. First fight of the night, stay away. Plus the dreaded double debut. Plus the division of 135er. It's all a weird mix for me. The things that stick out to me is Kayanzad, she coming down? Pani? Is she coming down in weight from 145 to a 135er?
I'm not sure. I feel like the show...
Avila coming up in weight?
I feel like she was on the show 145 pounds because that was that season, but that was also the same as Chiasson, who fought at 45 and now is a 35er. Yeah. It's just because they fight up a weight class for that show.
I'm going to go with the Villa decision. If you say she has the forward pressure that she does, then maybe she can get some points all racked in as well. She beat Nico Montano way back in her career, so she's already beat a champion. It's gotta say something. It's gotta say something, you guys. And yeah.
Great call on that. She did win a decision in there in a hard-fought battle. She has good trip takedowns as much as Montano, and on the ground is scrappy. So again, Avila probably going to be the decided favorite. Is a decided favorite actually in that, with her line right now being at minus 285 against the replacement short notice Panini, because this fight was officially Gatto that was also early short notice.
Oh, so she's already that big of a favorite?
Right.
Yeah, so, okay.
A lot of people see what we're seeing here with an actual prospect in Avila. At 170 pounds, we're going to start off the night with the graphics with a guy we've been touting here as one of the people you got to keep an eye on. If you have a debut showing short notice against Masvidal to track the Praxeras and fucking school him on the ground, you're an up-and-coming star in our eyes. I've been touting this horn ever since he got on the scene. I've been drooming.
The horn. I'm just...
It's the truth, though.
I was going to call him your boyfriend, though. It's your boyfriend.
I'm going to put
Naurdiev.
money on Naurdiev. I'm telling you, this guy, the Austrian wonder boy, really showed out in that fight. And he's coming in at 170 pounds against a 13-3 fighter, Chance Ruckatur, the Black Eagle himself. Came in, finally got a win in the UFC against Kyle Stewart, who's Kyle Stewart? At submission 5 months ago. Believe he was short notice, but his debut, Ruckatur lost a decision to Belal Muhammad. That's a testament in the toughness, but Belal used that wrestling non-stop in order to be able to really stifle Ruckatur, who I believe has a wrestling background, but Muhammad, being that D1 wrestler, just really set up his strikes and takedowns to win a decided fight, and Naurdiev can do that if he wants to. Striking-wise, told you guys at the initial tape study, this guy throws spinning back fist, knees, and elbows, knees, and toes. All those good things all at once. And it's got some strong hips. It's all in the hips. It's all in the hips. It's all in the hips. So, Naurdiev being super strong on the ground. Actually a national champ in Austria for wrestling. He was, I don't know if he had Olympic aspirations, but not a stranger on the ground and really solid against Praxeras. We saw him just bulldoze a guy who notoriously fights out of the country and has notoriously been overweight and on the juice. So nothing but good things to say about this guy. I think striking, he can really put it on. Black Eagle, but I do think that if it gets to the ground where we saw Naurdiev shooting a lot on even Praxeras, who's hard to take down, it's a one-sided fight. We got a big favorite for a reason. Give me the Wonder Boy to win it. And it's one-sided. I got a round 2 TKO.
Wow. See, I just think, is it Recontour, the Black Eagle?
Correct.
Chance? He's kind of made all the right moves for me. He went to, now he's at a good camp. He's out with Dominic Cruz, who's like notorious for picking apart people's games. Going to decision and losing to Belal Muhammad on your first time out is nothing to snarf at. Snarf.
Mm-hmm.
What is that on? That's on some cartoon.
Smurfs.
No. Thundercats.
Oh, it is Thundercats. Good call.
Kyle Stewart, he had a decent record. He wasn't just like some can. Not that records are everything, but at least it's a guy that has something. And I love everything about Naurdiev. I just don't think it's going to be as walkthrough. I still think it's going to be high scoring, and I do still have Naurdiev to win. I just think Chance, Praxeras is not gonna snatch up that neck like Chance could be able to. He's a tall, long guy.
I don't agree with that. I think Praxeras will snatch that neck more than anyone because he has. He had some of the most submission wins out there.
I thought he was a knockout guy.
Nope. He's a fucking little ground demon.
Like a little tank. Yeah, I like Naurdiev. I like him by decision. I just think it's going to be one of those great fights, not a finish.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Yeah.
Interesting. I am so one-sided, and I'm on DraftKings lines as far as Naurdiev being the minus 450 favorite.
Do you think Naurdiev easily walks through Belal Muhammad?
Yes.
Wow.
I'm telling you, you don't see hips that good on everybody. I'm telling you. It's the fucking truth. Like, the ground scrambles he was winning against somebody we know is as strong as an ox. That doesn't happen. You haven't seen a lot of guys fold under Prazeres. And Naurdiev was like, oh, third round, I'm just going to keep dropping elbows all over your face. I mean, Prazeres was an inch from going unconscious. Third round. Great gas tank as well for the young man in there. Hopefully all this hype he's getting from LaTB doesn't get to his head. And he gets out there with a crazy game plan after he finds out that we've been backing him so heavily here. On DraftKings, 9,300 for the decided favorite against Chance Recouture's 6,900. Nowhere chance, not giving him a chance. I'm going to be all in on Naurdiev.
That's it.
That's TKO run number 2.
I know you've talked about him like since the OG, since the inception.
The truth.
Yeah.
The truth. Talking about hips and inception.
I'm not on the hype train yet. I still think he's awesome. I'm on the train. I bought my ticket. I'm just not on the actual train yet. I just think Chance is a whole kind of different leverage. Like Prazeres is like Shorty McShorts. Chance is tall. It's like a whole different gig. Tall and lean. But if he gets through this, Naurdiev, like choo-choo. Choo-choo.
Oh, no. Is that the kiss of death?
No, because it will I be the last one on the...
That's what I'm saying.
Is beating Chance the, like, whoa, that's a hype train.
No, but Prazeres will eat Chance alive for breakfast.
I don't know.
Prazeres would 100% eat freaking Chance alive. Not even close. Not even in the same hemisphere.
How old is Prazeres now?
Probably like 48. He's Brazilian.
Yeah.
You know that's all fake paperwork. So I'm going to be finding a way to put Naurdiev on my DraftKings.
And it's a full training camp. Wasn't it short notice or something?
Yeah, like a week and a half. Third round, just smothering him on top and getting in tons of ground transitions and coming out on top, rolling through Prazeres. I mean, it's just, I don't keep asking me questions because I'll keep going.
Striking, great. You love it.
Yes, I think his striking is really hurting Prazeres' striking as well, but he's not known to be a striker, so that I don't give as much credit as to the ground control. And he was shooting on a guy who is a troll that's hard to take down. Like, Russians can't take Prazeres down. And Naurdiev was like, oh, thank you, single leg. Whoop. On the ground, smother your ass with them hips.
So you just think ground and pound finish?
Exactly. That's why I think number 2. I think it goes into the second round. I'm giving Chance a little bit of leeway here. I think he holds his own, but I think he just wears out because Naurdiev kept that pace.
All right. I love Naurdiev. I still like him everywhere. How much is he on the DK?
9,300.
I don't know. I'll have him on half my cards. I'll have Naurdiev on half my
I'm gonna
cards.
have to pull.
Chance.
I'm gonna have to pull back. Because I'm gonna want to go in. You guys are listening. I want to go 110%. I want to be all in, but I'm gonna probably go into that like 80%, maybe 90%. 85 on my DraftKings. So I'm going to have a lot of exposure. But as we told you guys on the previous DraftKings card, it was going to be a tough to make winning lineups, or it was going to be a weird night. This one, there's already tons of big money plays out here. There's big money cards on DraftKings. They're getting up into that high price range. If you're a high roller, you're going to definitely have a lot of exposure. So it's going to be upwards.
And it's a John Jones night, so it's kind of like a good night to have a lot of exposure because there's a lot of people who never ever bet MMA on DraftKings that'll bet it. So you have a lot of dummies in the mix too.
Yeah, you'll have a lot of guys that are just throwing away their cards. They ain't listening. They ain't in on LaTB. If you want to be a good person and let them know, go ahead.
If you want to be a nice person. If you want to let them celebrate their independence as well.
Exactly. So that's definitely going to be a showcase fight. I cannot wait to get that one up.
Do you think it's your LaTB linchpin?
I think it can be. Yeah,
like
I'll put it right now.
Turn off.
Yep. That's already 90% of my cards. I'm going to have to, again, come through and take some off later to just give myself a little bit more exposure.
You already went through and saved one person on all your
Oh,
cards.
yeah. Nardiev's that one. Like, I have nothing else on cards. It's just Naurdiev. That's 5. I got 5 spots. I don't got 6. I got 5.
You just have 5 Naurdievs.
Yeah.
4 Naurdievs and left 1 blank.
Yeah, exactly. In honor. So I think he walks right through him in that one. Anything left with those guys?
No, that's it. Don't you think this fight is kind kind of funny. In a way, don't you think, like, Shahbazyan is, like, our Naurdiev?
Maybe yours, not mine. I've actually been a little hesitant on Shahbazyan against Jack Marshman at 185 pounds. Edmund Shahbazyan coming out of that Glendale fighting system, which we like here. Add movement. He's coming with Tarvarian in his corner. He's a freaking Roundy disciple here. So the Glendale system actually has a prospect in here, and Shahbazyan coming in with a perfect 9-0 record, winning his Contender Series via TKO, split decision over Darren Stewart, the dentist, and last TKOing Charles Bird as an underdog. Shahbazyan really has a Tasmanian type of style as well, moves at you nonstop, puts good 3-4 punch combinations together. On the ground is a demon on top and bottom. He actually has a really good jiu-jitsu game plan as well, but he likes to get it done, throws a lot of peppering punches, and is just a nuisance constantly using his pressure to overwhelm fighters. He can be countered a bit when guys like this move forward so much. I mean, at times, he does leave his head a little straight on the line. And against Jack Marshman, you do have to worry about that. The Muay Thai kickboxer has had many belts in a long career. The 23-8 fighter is 29 years old, but in fight years, he's easily in his mid-40s. So he's definitely a guy who's taken a lot of damage against fairly low-level competition. But with Shahbazyan, he hasn't fought the highest. Bird is a fairly high but also young in the promotion, as much as Darren Stewart actually had already probably 8 or 9 fights in there. So that was a really close bout, but Shahbazyan, I believe, was the slight favorite in that one. Either way, Jack Marshman tends to keep it striking, doesn't shoot a takedown. I don't believe ever has shot a takedown in the UFC. He is strictly a sprawl and brawl, likes to keep it up. The Welsh fighter, last coming off of a split decision win to John Phillips, who's no longer in the UFC, but he's lost to people like Carl Robertson decision, Cara de Zapato submission. He beat Ryan James, lost to TKO to Santos. He has a good game plan, but it's one-dimensional. I mean, on the ground, Marshman can easily be exploited. It's been seen before, and Shahbazyan has that type of ground game. It's just if he gets in this being so young at 21, if he's like, hey, I'm going to show off and show you guys how I can beat strikers, and he gets countered. Marshman can put a little stink on that right hand, especially in a good counter. He moves his head well, and he can set up those type of shots. So I see Shahbazyan still being reckless enough to eat that punch, finally get it to the ground. He might take a little more damage than he should, but I do see him being fairly one-sided here. I got a TKO round number 3. I think it's the ground and pound. I could even move that up to 2. I just think once Shahbazyan realizes he shouldn't be standing with him, it's easily a one-sided fight on the ground. Who do you have in this fight, and why?
Shahbazyan, I cannot even try to read his name. His is mine.
Right?
Every time I try. The Golden Boy is my Golden Boy. I got a crush on him. I like him. I've liked him since the beginning.
What does he have?
He stands out everywhere.
What's his thing? So you know me and them hips. What do you like about him?
I think he has fast hands, and he seems like he's really progressing. Every fight that I've watched him come out, he just looks better than the one before. Whatever, it's like he fixes whatever was the hole the time before, and just to watch a young kid be able to close the gaps and like all the vast skills of MMA and each one get better. And I know he's at a camp that's taking a lot of heat, but maybe he's kind of the quick downloading computer that somebody that's 10 years older than him isn't. You know, he's a different model. His hand-eye coordination, that I even think Jack Marshman is a different model than the Golden Boy. I don't even think it's anywhere close in boxing styles. I think Shahbazyan can figure him out by round 2. And I have a knockout. I will give Jack Marshman credit, though, that something clicked in the way his body looks in his last fight. Like, it was his best outing by far. I thought the best time, and that's not saying like
against John Phillips.
That's not saying a ton at all. Like, he's a guy that we questioned him ever kind of being UFC caliber.
Yep.
And I do think the Golden Boy is. So I got him finishing by round 2. I don't know if it's too early to say, but he could be my linchpin.
Interesting. Yeah. I could see that as well. And so do a lot of people. He's a minus 400. Big favorite here as well. This, let's say there's a narrative in the background. As we're saying, there's an Africa card. We've been touting it off for a little while here. We see that coming down the pipeline. If, as we're saying, there's more eyes than usually because Jon Jones fighting, do you want to set up young fighters with big finishes so they remember? So people are like, I like that guy. He murders people. Are they setting up fights like that where they're
I hope so. It makes me want to change my pick on... I'm just trying to give Chance a little bit of credit, but it makes me want to put Naurdiev for a finish.
I got 2 finishes in a row myself. Shahbazyan again being a big favorite. 9,400 on DraftKings. 100 cheaper than Naurdiev, so you know who I'm going to be picking there. But I'm actually going to have a good amount of Shahbazyan in there as well. Marshman 6,800. I don't think I'm going to have any Marshman anywhere. I'm going to be spending my money early. I'm going to be spending my money way too early. It's going to be... We're going to see how these DraftKings lines come out.
You have to remember, too, because they're going to probably do the televised only card. So you can spend your money early and then just do...
Have a completely other televised cards. You're completely right. Love your thinking there. So... Remember to stick along as far as all of our Twitter and Instagram posts because we are going to be updating as the week goes on. And again, anything can happen. It's a Jon Jones fight. Anything can happen. Independence Day, the movie, that can happen.
It really could happen.
It could happen. So stay tuned. Anything left with either one of those guys? How much do you think you're actually going to play Shahbazyan on your DraftKings for 9,000?
He could be my linchpin where I go heavy in the paint on like 80% of my cards, but
I'm gonna try to do 60.
Like you're saying, follow. But I love them.
At 135 pounds, we're going into the bantamweight division with Alejandro Perez coming in against Yadong Song. Yadong Song, get it.
Let me see Yadong Song.
Saw that Cisco video the other day. Interesting with my grown eyes. What I see now. Woo! So interesting.
A grown man do a one-handed cartwheel.
A grown man.
You're like, get off the beach, kid. You just don't even believe it.
Grown man with eyebrow piercings and a stomach tattoo.
You're like, I don't think he cares about thongs on women.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. He's like, there's a dance floor over there. Hold on, let me go, girls. Get out of here, girls.
She got dumps like a truck. That was like, what?
So, Yadong Song coming in with all sorts of hype. The 14-4 Chinese fighter is coming in and actually having some experience now fighting, I believe, Alpha Male. The Terminator has come in with a 3-fight winning streak in the UFC, beating Kendari, which we told you is an Indian fighter who isn't worth his weight in salt, against Felipe Arantes TKO as well. And then last beating Vince Morales, who is really a gatekeeper for the UFC in itself. Morales might be out of the UFC here pretty soon. Just a guy who regularly gets put against debuting UFC fighters, and they seem to always get the better of him. So I don't see that as a big win. Morales really showed a bunch of toughness in there. Actually got some good strikes going against Yadong Song. But Song is powerful. I mean, this guy is a Chinese prodigy. He moves in that Kung Fu almost style, really laterally in and out fast, almost Horiguchi stylish, but Horiguchi again being a Japanese fighter, but
he's a good-looking kid.
He is. Definitely have that in his back pocket, but he's a good fighter as well at 21 years old. He... On the ground, we've seen that he's really strong. We haven't seen his wrestling much because his takedown defense is really showed out as well. He has really strong hips and has shown a good gas tank. He actually has improved it in his 3 fights.
About them hips. That's UFC 239.
That's all what it's going to be about. That's the graphic.
Goats and hips. So,
Yadong Song's been really showing out, but he's coming in against the veteran in 21-7-1. Alejandro Perez, I didn't coin it, but the Mexican fighter has notoriously been known to be a weasel in there, always eking out a fight against Silk Hamtath, the Asian sensation in there. He ended up squeaking out a split decision. Most of his fights are freaking split decisions, being Yuri Alcantara, Matthew Lopez by a TKO, but Perez has some of the better fight IQ in the game. He understands that he needs to take down in the last 10 seconds in order to get a fight, and he also can keep fights at boxing range with okay takedown defense as well. But I think this stays a striking battle. It's going to be that Mexican boxing style with some kicks from Perez against a more of a karate type of striker. The power by far goes to Yadong Song. Alex Perez kills you by 1,000 cuts. Will try to use those takedowns and outposition you, but he's not going to go for a submission. He's just trying to get the takedown so that he gets those points on the cards, not to go for a finish. And he's been at I believe Alliance. I know he's a Mexican fighter, but I know that he's been traveling for a little while now, and he's been looking better than he ever has, but I think he is a decided favorite. I think the line's right here. I see Yadong Song about a 2-1 favorite just because he's going to get the better of the striking and be able to keep it where he wants to. I got a decision right now. I could maybe see a finish, but that Mexican toughness usually shows out even when Perez has been knocked down 3 times by other opponents. He finds a way to get a win in there. I think it's close. Give me Yadong Song. Decision right now. Who do you have in this fight?
I'm the other way right now. I think in kind of the same as last week with Pitchell, how the grindiness is just slowly going to wear Yadong Song out and slowly suffocate him and take him into deeper and deeper waters and drag him down, wear down his cardio. So on a stand-up, he loses a lot of that power and a lot of the speed. And I think it's going to make Yadong Song better in next fights. Perez is a grimy, intelligent, durable fighter that's there for 15 and a half minutes.
Hard minutes.
Like there for 15. He's there for past. He's ready if there needs to be a 4th round, he would, if for whatever reason somebody dropped from the ceiling and like one more round, he'd still have it in him and you're going to lose that round.
Yep.
Gosh, I just think his griminess ekes it out a little here. I know Yadong Song is a really hot favorite, and I like him too. It's scary. It's a little scary to pick.
It is scary. I like what you're saying as well in there, that griminess can really shine through, but I do think Yadong Song will, even if he's losing a round, he has the type of power that will be able to sit Perez down, and that'll automatically give him a 10-9 round. So, Perez has got a shot. He definitely has an avenue, and it's turning it into a grimy fight, and he has that potential in there as well. So I don't think you're too off there, but I am going to be on the other side of that. On DraftKings, you're going to have the minus 185 favorite, Yadong Song, for 8,500 against Perez's 7,700. How much do you think you're going to be playing Perez in that?
I'm going to probably play them both equal amount and probably only put either of them on a 20% of my cards. I
was about to say the exact same thing. I'm going to go 20%. I'm going to actually go 30% Yadong Song, 10% Perez. But I could do 20-20 and be comfortable with that as well. I'm Yadong Song still.
Very smart. A lot of young prospects
21 years old
on this card.
Is it 3 in a row?
But all guys that you just want to jump on their hype train right away, and they kind of set them up, I think, not with all walkthrough matches, which I think that's great. That's good business. It's a good way to set the guys up for not too much danger, but a way to build their skill and their name slowly on a John Jones card. It's
right.
Smart business.
I totally agree. It is the back narrative. We know we're getting this many eyes for John Jones. Who can we get on here that people are going to stick onto? And they're going to need high-level performances to get them those eyes, for sure. At strawweight, though, 115 pounds. We're coming in with 2 veterans in here. At strawweight, we have Claudia Gadelha versus Ronda Marcos. And talking about a crush, I got a crush on both of these ladies. They both like what I do. I love me some Ronda Marcos. She's a constant underdog dark horse. She's failed a couple times, but she's somebody who really takes this fight game to the next level. I guess they all do, but she lives it. I just really like her training. I do follow her on Instagram, and she's always in the gym in there. Gadelha, one of these ladies as well, who has really actually backed off a little bit. She was one of the perennial top 5 ladies, but there's been people starting to be able to beat her. Andrade being one of those, just mauling her in a decision. She came back, beat Carla Esparza in a split decision where a lot of people thought Esparza won that for Gadelha at the 16-4. And then as of late, she lost to Nina Asneroff, but another I got too many hearts. I just give them away. I'm just giving them away. But Nina, here we had Nina as a big 2-1 underdog. And we were like, hey, guess what? Nina Asneroff's about to get this fight because Gadelha gases. Ever since she left Novu Niao, that gas tank's been suspect. EPO, weird things. We've said it before. Gedalia just has not been herself.
Did she go back to Novu Niao?
No, she did not.
Okay.
They just haven't updated it. I believe she's in Texas, but it's not Fortis. It's somewhere else. Maybe Oyama-ish type of camp. But regardless, Nina Askarov showed the blueprint of what you got to do. Keep this fight striking and then beat her striking. Gedalia's striking really limits into, especially going to that second and third round, to telegraphed left hand to a right hand, and that's about it. Gedalia really has to be on the ground to start to show where she can take over in fights, and I think a lot of people can see that. Ronda Marcos, being a student of the game, 33 years old, what she does best is wrestle, and I feel like she can actually take over in this fight going into the second and third round. She's 9-6. She's had a speckled career, and they're losing a split decision to Alexa Grasso, beating Lima, coming back, losing to Nina Askarov in a decision as well. But as of late, beating Angela Hill submission armbar, that's also her ground game. Marcos is really, she got into that striking acumen a little bit, lost the fight against Grasso because she was like, oh, I've got my striking better, but now has turned the corner and been like, I got to go back to it. And she was actually an underdog against Angela Hill, came through and made quick work of the really, really active fighter in Angela Hill. So she's coming off of a 3-month win. I think Marcos can actually decide to take this on the ground when she wants to. And on the top, she is not easy to take care of in there at all. If the further this fight goes in the distance, I do think that Marcos has more and more of a shot and will probably be winning it. I could see Gedalia winning the first round, but the next two, I got Marcos as an underdog. She's a big plus 240 right now, but I'm fading Gedalia's gas tank and her fight IQ as well. She really, when she gets in a rep, she is the better striker here, but she really starts to telegraph it over and over again, and I think Marcos abandons that and goes takedown heavy, and in a wrestling match, Marcos ends up on top 7 out of the 10 times. So, give me Marcos, big underdog. You wanted one, you got one. You're welcome.
Oh, whoa. I'm not really surprised, though, because I see everything that you're saying, and I do think it's so weird at their ages to be in opposite trajectories on where I've watched Ronda Marcos really, tighten her game and everything kind of come together, where Claudia Gedalia, something's happened since she's left Novu Niao, steroids. But I can't really explain. I want to hope it's back, though, and I also think she only loses, the people she's losing to, Ronda Marcos hasn't even ever gotten to see that caliber of fighter yet. And the people she's beating are all kind of better than Ronda Marcos to me. I'm going to hope Claudia Gedalia's back on this. I think Brian Ortega was all up in her head last time. And
More than her head.
He stopped IGing my girl, maybe. I'm going to have it going the other way. I do think the later it goes, it does become Ronda Marcos's game, but I do think Claudia Gedalia will eke out the first 2 rounds. I think Claudia hits harder than anyone that Ronda's gone against. Mm-hmm. And Angela Hill, she kind of has a repetitive movement in her game that Claudia has a little more pressure than that, a little more power than that, and a better ground game than that. She's lost to the champ and to Nina, who we think is the sneaky little could-be champ. Claudia Gedalia decision, I could change that. But that's why you want to be following everywhere.
So, we got to hear officially a dirty-ass split, because I got 2 rounds going the other way.
I think it's so much closer, and I think the odds are off. If we could put up LaTB odds, I think... Do you think Claudia Gedalia should still be the favorite?
Yes, I do think Gedalia, but she shouldn't be a 2-1 favorite.
No, 125.
No. Even 140, and I'd be okay with that. But this whole 2-1, I think these lines have been out for so long. People have been steaming them the other way. And Gedalia, traditionally, as you're saying, does have the tougher competition in there. But I think as I see one going up and one moving down, age doesn't have a limit here for me, I guess. I've just been liking what I'm seeing from Marcos. If there's a submission, I see it being Marcos, but I don't know. Maybe I'm off. Maybe I'm crazy. On DraftKings, you're going to end up paying for the favorite $8,800 for Claudia Gadelha against Ronda Marcos' $7,400. I don't think I'm going to be playing Gadelha on many spots there, but I am going to be having about 30%.
Never worth points, though.
True. Very
She's
great
like
point.
A 40-pointer.
She takes you down and stays there.
Yeah, it's never great.
It's true. I'm going to have like 10% Marcos, 20% Marcos, Gadelha, 10-20% as well. If that. Ooh, that one's interesting. Splitting it up. Woo! At 145 pounds, we have Allen Almighty Arnold AAA against Gilbert El Nino Melendez. Melendez coming out of that scrap pack, being a 22-7 fighter, having 4 in a row. This is one of those rare times that we see a fighter, especially in these lower weight classes, that has more than 3 losses in a row and isn't on out of here. Gil Melendez has got to be his final shot, right? Like, there's absolutely no way. This is his back up against the wall. He beat Diego Sanchez years ago. Then ended
He on that BJ pin.
Yeah, exactly.
He on that BJ pin.
Lost to Perez, Alvarez, Barbosa, and Jeremy Stevens a year ago in a decision. But if you remember correctly, Gil Melendez couldn't walk after that. Gil Melendez got his leg torn apart. But on the ground, don't have to worry about Gil Melendez as much. He's notoriously been a wrestler for a very long time. Always has good guillotines, north-south chokes. Being a part of that Gracie Jiu-Jitsu lineage, I do believe he's a black belt. Hasn't shown it as much. His takedowns have started to just become very stiff at 37 years old. He isn't what he was. He was a brawler grinder. A lot of that scrap back mentality. He'll throw a punch, eat a punch to give a punch, and it's just started to wear on him. He's had a steadied career of many, many brawls that have gone long in there. Way too long. But it's not his heart that isn't in there. It's his body. He's finally starting to get that damage where when he starts to eat these leg kicks, everything shuts down. And he just kind of turns into a punching bag in there. And Arnold doesn't have that type of game plan. Arnold is a wrestler. He's one of these guys that was a Naurdiev for a split second. Was a Shahbazyan. But unfortunately, that mustache ended up changing a couple minds because the 14-1 fighter definitely had a much tougher fight against Rinaldi decision, which doesn't look so bad all of a sudden. But Buren, he was in there losing a fight. Americani, he beat as well. Yatsen Mesa no longer in the UFC. And Alan Omer. It's all 5 wins, but it's against guys that still don't have very long careers in the UFC themselves. So Gil Melendez is definitely going to be the most veteran fighter in there by far. And on the ground is where Arnold Allen is going to have the most advantage. That's what he wants to try to do. Striking, he's not better striker than Gil Melendez, but it doesn't matter. I feel like Gil Melendez is at a point that he just can't eat shots like he used to. So Allen can literally eat a shot to just throw one, and the fact that he's just younger and more explosive is going to add up more against Gil Melendez. There's an avenue of a grind wrestle out for Melendez, but 37 years old, the showings we've seen as of late, I think after this one, it might be his last fight on a pay-per-view. Thank you, Gil Melendez, for everything, but I see the young man winning a decision. I don't see it being completely lopsided. I think it's closer than they have it on the lines, but I do see Arnold winning a decision in this fight.
I got Arnold decision as well, and I even think he could finish it because Gil Melendez should not be doing this anymore. And I disagree. At 25 years old, this is for name alone. It's a setup fight, just the same way we're saying, like, look at, they're putting all this Yadong Song and Naurdiev and, Edmund and Allen. They're putting all these young cards in this John Jones. This is a smart done card, and I think this is just a setup fight where all the Johnny come latelys, all the Les Casuals will turn on and be like, I remember watching Gil Melendez. Yep. This guy's awesome. And then they're going to watch him get murked by this young kid and be like, whoa, Allen's my new favorite.
Exactly, which has been a lot of this card. And I would say then Gil Melendez is kind of a stepping stone. He takes the juice. He gets the heat. He's like, oh, here you go. You got the juice now, Allen. You got the juice. So I agree with that. I feel like this card is playing out into a lot of these kind of background plays, which might have a little more weight than most people think.
Do you think it's go young or go home?
So far it is. Well, other than Marcos for me, but that's me.
Is she, how many?
33 to 30 years old for Gadelha.
I think I'm all young so far.
So far. Arnold Allen, on DraftKings is going to be 9,000, the minus 240 favorite. I think that line's off. I don't think Arlen should be that big of a favorite.
I do.
Against the 7,200 against the plus 190 underdog, Gil Melendez.
I think we should even change the name to Gil on out of here.
That's a good one. I like that. So that's what's left to be said on that. At 170 pounds, we have one of those get on out of here fights for me, because poor Diego Sanchez is coming in against Michael Chiesa. The 155er has moved up now for a few fights at 170. Actually got a win against Carlos Condit. I mean, the shell of Carlos Condit, because those knees are gone. And we said that a long time ago. He said he didn't want to fight, and they're forcing him back in there, which I don't agree with. Prior to that, he lost to Anthony Pettis with the 14-4 record, also losing to Kevin Lee in a early stoppage. He did not tap, but he was essentially dead to rights with that choke. So Chiesa's come in and beat Dariush as well via submission. Jim Miller submission when he had still had Lyme's disease. But Chiesa at 170 has definitely looked a whole lot better. He's 31 years old at 6'1". At 170, he still looks like he's taller than 6'1". He's always rocking that Washington Babylon Brook in the back. Do you think he comes in with, I guess the graphic has it, this looks very religious to me, actually, in the graphic here, the way he has it. I'm like, oh, you could be a certain sect of religion there, but that's just, that's just me. The grappler in there likes to get it to the ground. Striking-wise, Chiesa has always been very rudimentary striker. Throws a jab out there every once in a while, but really it's overhand right to get right to the hips. He shoots takedown that's gotten better, but not amazing. He's a high school wrestler. But on the ground, Chiesa's really strong, heavy. He at times has been shown out on the ground, but it has to be high-level guys in there. Pettis was able to do it, so was Lee. Diego Sanchez, 29-11, has been fighting since day one of The Ultimate Fighter. That's still guy that's still active. Last coming off of a win as a big underdog to Mickey Gall. I had Mickey Gall. I've been trying to fade Diego Sanchez for a long time, and that's just really it. I've just been saying it's time for him to get on out of here nonstop. This is the first time he actually left Jackson Wink in his career now of almost 10 years. He went there a long time ago and now officially left with the wrestling coach. They went to Albuquerque and are now just training with the high school team, and that's it. He just is with people that he loves. If you saw that interview, it was really, I mean, a reason why I keep saying he needs to get on out of here is because the words are slurred. It's in the middle of the day. He almost seems drunkish, but I've worked with TBI. People seem drunk. It's the tan lady. She sounds like she's drunk all the time. She's not.
Tan mom?
Tan mom, there you go. She has traumatic brain injury, and it's just proven with Diego Sanchez. Listen to him. It's hard at times to understand some of the full sentences. I sound like a jerk, but I just don't want to see him in there. I actually think it's good for him to have Chiesa going in there, because I think Chiesa, I think he could get the submission, but Diego Sanchez is proven as of late that on the ground he's still a demon. He can still stifle a lot of guys, but Chiesa has a lot of size. Mickey Gall had a lot of size on Diego Sanchez, but still Diego was able to overcome that. I'm not saying Mickey Gall and Chiesa are on the same level, because Chiesa actually has grappling acumen in there and proven it time and time again. I got submission, but I think I might move to TKO, because I think it would be kind of foolish for Chiesa to go on the ground and even give Diego Sanchez a shot. If you Jake Ellenberger or do anything that the way you finish Diego Sanchez, especially at 170, not 55, is just throw an elbow, throw anything, because anything that lands really tends to rock Diego, and Chiesa doesn't usually have that power, but it might show here. Give me TKO, round number 2. Chiesa, it's a fade. It's a fade train for me. I don't think there's anybody I can bet Diego Sanchez on. I'm sorry. I know he's on a 2-fight winning streak. I don't want to see it anymore.
I just think I understand every single thing that you're saying. I'm trying to fade Michael Chiesa. Something happened in his game that just fell off for me, and he just hasn't done anything good in years. The beating Carlos Condit, you hear the crickets in there?
100.
That is nothing. where something clicked in Diego Sanchez that he comes out all of a sudden with this clever game plan, especially against guys that are going to try to use heavy jiu-jitsu only games. It's almost that same Damian Maia against Tyron Woodley, Colby Covington, that style. And that's kind of what we're noticing that Diego does, except it just looks a little tighter at this level. He's just... staying out of tight grips with him, staying on the outside. He ends up with better hands. Michael Chiesa is not really powerful. Mm-hmm. I could even see a whole bunch of young guys winning tonight, and this is a set-up fight. In my opinion, if we're talking about set-up fights, in a weird way, the UFC's annoyed by Michael Chiesa.
Interesting. What would you say this because he got all that paper from Conor? Because that's when it changed. That's when it changed.
Yeah, and he hasn't looked so great on his way out, and I don't think he's going to submit Diego Sanchez. I think Diego Sanchez might even eke out the decision. He could even I think he could work on the body of Chiesa. I think Chiesa has a soft body, and Diego could exploit that by the end of it and even end up with the TKO by round 3. I am going to go with Sanchez decision. I think he can work out the last 2 rounds. I think he has the better cardio, and I do think it's at the end of his career. Maybe the UFC has given him one.
Interesting.
I'm bummed that he's not at Jackson Winker. I'd have this little bit of extra comfort that they gave him this perfect game plan.
I was about to ask you about that because I'm like, do you take any of that? Because for me, that's a big red flag. I'm like, the way you've been winning is this way and now you moved. So, but maybe it's because he took that coach's advice and that coach was like, dude, they're teaching you something else. This is your game plan. And that's why he went to specialized train, because it has been a wrestling-centric type of a game plan. But I think he has Diego Sanchez is good submission defense, too. I like what you're saying. I don't think it's absolutely crazy.
One. That's my weird underdog right now. And if I end up... It is a crazy one.
It's up there.
It's nuts.
It's up there.
I just think there's way too much credit for Mike Chiesa.
I mean...
What have you done for me lately?
Mickey Gall was a minus 250 favorite as well.
True.
So Chiesa minus 325, big favorite against the plus 250 Diego Sanchez. On DraftKings, you're going to end up paying $9,200 for Chiesa against Sanchez's $7,000. I'm not going to put Sanchez anywhere, but I am going to put Chiesa on about 30% of my cards. I do think he can finish with a TKO, but this is going to be the only TKO Chiesa gets in his entire career.
I'm going to have... I feel like I remember Chiesa knocking someone out. Is that crazy?
Yes.
I think Diego Sanchez, gosh, I would hope he retires, but I just don't see him doing it. And that is my red flag, is Jackson Wink not with him anymore? Because they're like, look, homie, you said you were going to retire 2 fights ago, and we don't feel comfortable training you anymore for the UFC. Could that at all be a possibility, or a camp would never do that?
That's a possibility. Camps do all... They do all... Exactly. There's all sorts of dirty stuff that happens.
Crazy! I'm going to have Diego Sanchez on, just a card or 2, and I probably will stay far away from Michael Chiesa. Maybe on 1. I might have him on the same amount.
So, if you're playing DraftKings... How
much is Mike Chiesa?
Mike Chiesa is $9,200 on DraftKings.
Never Chiesa for over 9.
I agree. It's going to be hard. That's why I'm saying 20%. But I like so many younger men in there. You know, I like my young boys. Chiesa, there's avenues for Diego Sanchez. I don't think you're off there. I think you're making an educated play there, especially the way he's been looking as of late. If I didn't tell you, again, liking and subscribing on YouTube to probably be getting this out earlier. This is already into the main card, so you're going to have we started out the main card with Diego Sanchez and Chiesa, so this is going to be the televised cards, or the pay-per-view cards, that are going to be on their own, correct? Where you're going to be able to stay away from some of those earlier bouts, potentially. But either way, at Zol Tonight, at Weeknight Baby, at Lesbo and the Bean. On Instagram, you can find us at LATB_MMA. And you know we're going to be having our cards up.
And for all intents and purposes, this is a crazy good card.
Oh, unbelievably stacked pay-per-view. So DraftKings was nice enough to get the lines out for us. Lines have been out for a little while. These are all such fun fights. I don't know. I feel like I'm having fun. I'm like, dang, there's possibilities here for these underdogs. We've both got some pretty big underdogs and many to come. Man, I don't know about many, but a couple more on the way. You know how we do around here. At 205 pounds, we have debuting Luke Rockhold at 205. He's not debuting in the UFC. He's a former title contender holder at 185 pounds, but he is debuting at 205 against Jan Blachowicz. The Polish fighter's coming in with a 23-8 record, coming off of a loss to Thiago Santos 4 months ago in a coin flip of a fight. I mean, Jan Blachowicz was looking good in there, but just couldn't take the power of Santos. The best idea, maybe not strike with such a power puncher, but Jan wasn't looking outclassed in there by any means. Landing that left body kick that he likes to throw a lot. He's finished quite a few guys in there, LaTB being one of them, Krylov as an underdog, Manawa, Blachowicz beat Cannonier as well. He's a guy that we've played on as an underdog and always is worth to look to take a shot on because he's well-rounded everywhere, has good submissions, heavy hips on the ground as well. Has an okay takedown. His striking is probably his weakest, and striking defense is probably his weakest attributes there, but Jan Blachowicz really likes to push you up against the fence to negate that and get you to the ground, where he likes to do most of his work. But the hard thing here at 205 is Luke Rockhold was a monstrous 185-pounder. He was a guy that, look at his last fight, he ended up losing to Yoel Romero at 100, or with a 16-4 record. He beat David Branch and lost to Michael Bisping TKO 3 years ago. But Rockhold's one of these guys who's notoriously always had a hard weight cut, so I think it's really going to benefit him. We've seen these guys' chins get better, but 85 to 205 isn't 55 to 70. It isn't 45 to 55. Like, it's 20 pounds. It's a big, big jump. Mm-hmm. But I do think Rockhold at 6'3" against the 6'2" Blachowicz isn't going to be as bad. Heavyweight might not be ever in Luke Rockhold where it is for John Jones, but I do think Rockhold is going to have fights to win. At 34 years old, he's coming in 2 years younger than Blachowicz. He's a better striker. He's better on the ground as Luke Rockhold. I think that the takedowns even go to Rockhold coming out of Alliance, but actually, Rockhold's been over at American Top Team now since last fight camp, maybe the fight camp before.
Yeah, Branch fight, I believe.
Correct. So he's been over there for a while, but they
ever since the Bisping loss, he left.
He cut ties. But I think that this is going to be a big step up. Unfortunately, I just see the journeyman Blachowicz just lose a decision. I think he's going to give a better showing of himself than people think here. But I do see Rockhold, even though he's moving up, just being smarter, wittier. That chin that I like to fade a lot is at 185 pounds. It's not at 205. I do think he's going to have a better chin, and Blachowicz isn't the best striker. So if it gets to the ground, I do see even I believe Gracie Black Belt Rockhold actually being able to reverse even win on the ground via submission. But I'm going to go Rockhold decision right now. I think this should be a coin flip. It's a little one-sided for Rockhold, and I think the line's off there. I think Blachowicz shows up. This is going to be a fun one. What do you think happens? I got a decision.
I think the line's way off, and I think that Luke hasn't been quite the same ever since the Bisping loss. I think it messed with his head in a way that a guy with that kind of ego can't come back from. Yeah, he submitted David Branch. I think Jan's ground game is far superior than David Branch's ground game, especially in kind of the same skill set. Is this like a kickboxer versus a Muay Thai guy? Is that kind of what this is a setup of?
I wouldn't even say that, because Blachowicz to me is more the wrestling grinder with a good left kick and an alright check left hook.
Isn't he a champion in something else?
I believe at the KSW scene, he had a couple belts. Like, he's fought over the world. He's fought multiple times in the UFC, beating Devin Clark.
I really love Jan. You guys know I've always been on his hype train.
Yep.
I don't know if I've ever voted against the guy, and I've kind of been fading Luke Rockhold. You cannot come in off the kind of, like,
getting all kissed
up
by
knocked out by Michael Bisping, getting knocked out by Yoel Romero, and then coming against a knockout guy like Jan Blachowicz on over a year on a fight card of the John Jones fight card. That's a lot for Luke Rockhold. That's a lot to really be under, a lot of mental pressure. I just think Jan's gonna figure that chin out. Maybe by round 2. I got another underdog.
Wow. Cheney's coming in with a heat.
That's name alone that I think Rockhold. This should be a more even fight. This should be the 8-8-2.
That's what I'm saying. It's a coin flip to me. I see it mine 115.
Yeah.
But it is actually...
But I'm a Jan lover and a Rockhold hater. So you guys got to take the bias on that.
Rockhold being minus 185 favorite against the plus 150 underdog, Blachowicz. You're going to end up paying $8,400 for Rockhold against the $7,800 for Blachowicz. Do you think you're going to have any exposure on DraftKings?
Yes, and I won't have Luke anywhere.
Interesting. I actually think I'm going to put Blachowicz on 20%, Luke Rockhold on 30%. So 50% on my card. Not going to expose myself tons to that play. I could see a finish for either fighter, though, in that fight as well. I think it could be a sneaky fight of the night, honestly.
I just don't think Rockhold has that kind of chin anymore.
But that's why it could be fight of the night, because he could be night.
I know. I don't like how to me those aren't fight of the nights. Fight of the nights are the ones that are like both guys go to
scrap's actual dogfight in there. So interesting.
But I like that Luke's going up. I do like it.
Yep, I totally agree with that. So moving on to a profile fight, the people's main event. If you've been following here, you know that we got a Cuban Jesus on our hands. Jorge Masvidal, one of LaTB's original OGs. We were on his hype train forever.
Just the hair.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
I couldn't use one of the old
I want to
ones.
say Little Santa Maria, my baby. I got freaking Masvidal looks
Santa
all
Maria,
sorts of good. We have Jorge Masvidal at 170 pounds coming in against Ben Funky Askren. Askren coming in with all sorts of hype, being 19 perfect fights in a row. We were breaking him down before. We were telling you that Robbie Lawler was probably not going to win, but still there's way too much hype on Askren. He's not fought really anybody of caliber. I mean, now he officially beat Lawler, but on the weirdest of circumstance, I mean, we've debated it multiple times. Go back into our lexicon. You'll be able to hear it. We went for days on this. Did Robbie tap? Did he go limp? Herb Dean said sorry. Everybody's okay with it. So...
I'm never talking about it again.
Ben Askren ended up getting dropped on his head.
If you're Askren, I'm not telling.
So you ain't remembering maybe because Askren took a freaking pile driver to the head, but he didn't Rose Namajunas in there. He ended up getting a headlock in there and getting the submission tap against Lawler, but against Game Brett. The 170-pounder, 33-13. You know we've been on that bandwagon for way too long. Against Stephen Thompson, he lost a decision. Against Damian Maia, he lost a dirty-ass split. Actually gave the blueprint on how to beat Damian Maia. Then as of late, we had him as an underdog here. We said, oh, plus 265? Thank you very much. Darren Till, who? Oh, who give a fuck about who? Give me that.
Sweet Caroline.
Exactly. Got money.
Camp. Back.
100% called it right. So, you know what Game Brady comes in with that Cuban boxing. Great footwork. Good takedown defense. Above average takedown defense. A lot of people discredit the level on the ground. Great submission defense. If you want one of these guys that's willing to take it into the third round and keep on striking and turn it into a dogfight, that's why we love Game Bread. He does that every single fight. He's never out of a fight. He can be a little susceptible to those overhand rights and power shots, but guess what? He doesn't have to worry about it against Funky Ben Askren. That at all whatsoever. Ben Askren comes in hard for a single leg, hard for a double, using that chain wrestling a lot like Damian Maia, but using more wrestling-centric grappling advances to use that ground and pound to get around you. And he uses more of a catch wrestling style to submit you, where Damian Maia again uses that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu rear naked choke style. Not that Funky Ben won't get you in a rear naked choke, but he has Soliev stretches. He has other just catch funky wrestling, cow catchers, stuff that you don't see coming. But Gamebred's been training forever. His longtime homeboy, Colby Covington. They went to Oregon State Wrestling. I've documented him multiple times. He got his wrestling up to par.
Do you credit Colby Covington for making Masvidal great again?
Yes, I would agree with that. Don't ask him how many beds he has, but he's definitely putting people to sleep in there. And I think I've been trying to fade Funky Ben, the watermelon assassin, in there.
He just got here. I've been trying to fade him since day one.
But I picked him against Lawler. But finally, give me another big underdog at a plus 185. Give me Masvidal. I think he keeps it where he wants it. And if it's striking, Masvidal's got this in leaps and bounds. If he can keep this off of the ground. I don't know if Askren submits him, but I do think that Masvidal eventually gets up, especially in that third round where Askren has rarely got to that third round. If it gets to the third and Masvidal's down 2 rounds, I'm putting money TKO round 3, Jorge Masvidal. I'm just telling you right now. You can bet that. I'm even going to put a little maybe on there. I can see a TKO. I got decision right now. Give me Masvidal. Stay tuned, because that might change. Give me a big underdog.
I love Jorge here, but he hasn't beat anyone of great to me. Beating Darren Till, I always thought he was overhyped and overrated. He has an okay sprawl, but very zero ground game. So it was just going to be a stand-up fight against kind of a one-dimensional fighter. And he didn't have to test any of his ground skills. It's a totally different fight. Stephen Thompson before that, who beat him, and I've been trying to fade Wonder Boy for a little bit. He's a little more awkward than anything. Damian Maia, we kind of been talking about that game plan. So if I put Masvidal on the Rocco Martin level to lose to Damian Maia in a split, and the guys that Masvidal's beating are all kind of kickboxing strikers. Ben Askren isn't that. I'm one of the few people, though, that think Ben would have finished Robbie Lawler regardless. And coming back from a slam on his head like he was, I think he can figure out a way to get to the inside. And I think he just has that kind of crazy power that it's that next level drag down that he can't get out of.
Dan Henderson type of strength.
Yeah, my thing that's scary is like with that kind of pressure. And what else we've seen, because people are like, oh, he come over from 1, he's beating cans. Is he, though? Because look, all the UFC guys are losing over there. So maybe he's going up against the juiced up monsters that are put together in a laboratory. I love Jorge Masvidal. I just think, Funky Ben, show me what you can do. Oh, let's see. Is he going to eke out a decision? Is he going to KO somebody? I do think Masvidal is super smart, and he's not going to want to stand up with him. So it's going to be by a submission. I think by round 2. Give me Ben Askren.
You're picking the minus 235 favorite, 8,700 for Funky Ben on DraftKings against Jorge Masvidal's plus 185, 7,500. I am going to say, though, I'm going to go probably... I wanted to say 40% Masvidal, 20% Askren. Because I think Masvidal is going to be one of these guys that's going to be top level. He's low owned at 75. I need 7,500 type of players. So I got Marcos and I got Masvidal. But that's going to allow me to get, them young boys with them heavy. With them heavy hips. So I'll be able to get Naurdiev and Shahbazyan. And that's the way I'm going to be able to do it. Having guys like this under here. So, Askren, 20%, because he has it. He does that type of thing. Is it the plus money puesta officially?
I don't know. I just didn't know if you wanted to bring it up to everyone just to make sure they're following. I know we said to follow us 1,000 times this episode because of how early it's coming out. But if you don't know already, because we've only mentioned it once on our last show, and maybe you didn't listen to that. Maybe you're a person that doesn't listen to the morning after. You only listen to the breakdown, or maybe you're new. So I didn't know if you wanted to talk about the plus money puesta.
And if you're new, thank you for giving us a try. You're going to be making money this card because we usually tend to do pretty good here. And the plus money puesta is going to be coming out here soon because if it's not Marcos, it's Masvidal. And guess what? I feel more comfortable with the plus 185 Masvidal. I just see him being the veteran fighter. I mean, the by far veteran fighter in the UFC. So he's got more ways to win for me in that bout. Woo! We're going to be making money.
And if... You should change your picture to you should put your header on Twitter, you guys together.
Me and Masvidal?
You and Masvidal.
That's pretty funny. We'll see the week. We still got a long week ahead of us, so be sure to stay tuned. On to, though, the co-main event at 135 pounds. We have the champ, the greatest fighter of all time. Some people call her the GOAT. Some people call her Honey. That's usually Nina Asneroff. But we got Amanda Nunes.
I would not call Nina's girl Honey.
I would agree. I would definitely agree.
But Amanda's been looking cute lately.
Oh, definitely. Definitely
I
been
forgot
looking
what
good.
she looked like 135. I'm like, oh.
One of the few champs in there not worried about taking an ass shot at all.
Doesn't care.
Doesn't give one bit. She's willing to put it all out there. And nobody's really hating on that. We have the Michael Jackson impersonator.
No more.
Not anymore. But she's the GOAT. I mean, she's knocked out Christiana Cyborg as a plus 230 favorite. Or underdog, I mean. The 17-4 fighter.
Overrated.
Not over. I mean, she's at 31 years old. Beat them all. Knocked them clean out.
All except one. All except the preacher's daughter. She's beat every champ except one. Literally every single champ that would be legal for her to touch. It would not be nice if she beat up Rose.
True.
But every champ she's allowed to touch on 10 pounds weight class on either side of her, she is beat.
Not just decision. Not
Misha.
Dead cold.
Ronda. Chris Cyborg. Valentina Shevchenko twice.
Decisions, though. The only ones that went to decision. Everyone else gets finished. But that's, again, a testament to, our baby Chev. You know how we love our baby Chev here. So, Holly Holmes is 12-4. She's home. I saw
somebody losing their mind on Twitter about it. I was like, oh,
it's true.
Holly Holm. You are right. It's not plural. It is Holly Holm.
It's because of that boxer, isn't it? New Mexico fighter, Albuquerque, 37-year-old. Holly Holm is 12-4. She last beat Megan Anderson in a decision. Prior to that, losing to Cyborg in a decision. Beating Betchko in a head kick, but losing to Dirandami in a decision. And we've just seen Holly Holmes getting the best knockout of all time against Ronda Rousey. Really hadn't done much after that, losing to Miesha Tate. She's a perennial top contender in there, but she likes to keep it kickboxing. That Jackson Wink's style really keeps her in a lateral movement, not cutting the fence all that well, and willing to get on her bike. We can easily see Holly Holm turn this into a circle on the outside. Hi. But none of the punches land, and it's just going to be a lot of volume without any connection, where we have the champ here. Amanda Nunes going to be trying to come in and land those power shots, but she moves in and out on 3-4 punch combinations and then steps out and can be a little... I feel like Amanda knows she has power and knows that she doesn't have to throw tons of power. A lot like that Shevchenko fight. She can get set back and just get into a point fight. And I think that Holly Holmes is going to dictate to make it into a point fight, because that's what she likes to do. And for better or worse, it's going to turn into a boring fight. I think this has decision written all over it. I do think Nunes, when she does land, even though it's going to be less, it's going to be more powerful in show. So I do think that Nunes gets the decision here. I'm going to say she wins 4 out of the 5 rounds. Maybe all 5, but I could even see 3-2, it getting kind of close, but not for any of the good reasons. I think Holly Holmes turns this into an Elias Theodoro type of tennis match in there, and it just turns into a fight we can't wait to forget. I got the champion, Nunes, as the favorite here. I do think it's a little steamed up just because I think that it's going to be a decision, so I don't see a finish happening in here. Holly Holmes won't let that happen. She's not going to walk into anything randomly. Who do you have in this fight, and why?
Holly Holm has gone to decision with power. Amanda Nunes has gone to decision with precision. Mm-hmm. Like, they're both kind of covered for each other. They've fought a lot of the same fighters. The MMA math says Amanda Nunes should finish another person. Holly Holm has one of the best chins in the women's 135. I don't know if her tentativeness was Shevchenko, but we always say how amazing Shevchenko is. Like, she is just next level, and some people think she beat Amanda Nunes in that second fight. I think the one thing Holly Holm has is Jackson Wink, and she is such a coachable fighter that even at her age is still progressing in her game. And she also has a killer cardio that I think if it does go, she can snap off some of those latter rounds. I don't know if once exhausted, Holly Holm might be able to snipe Amanda Nunes coming in hot. Something when I was rewatching Amanda Nunes' tape, when she came in looking at the combination she threw with Chris Cyborg... That is next level power. From her right back foot to her right hand and the extension of like full it's just unbelievable.
Yep.
So Holly Holm, she really is going to have her test. She does have good head movement. I think you leg kick Amanda Nunes and you make her pay for everyone with a leg kick. That's not normally Holly Holm game plan. I think she really needs to utilize that here to alleviate that power. On the ground, she has gotten a lot better. Holly Holm's worked on that skill level of herself a lot, and I do think her takedown defense, she might be able to stifle any... Amanda Nunes isn't going to mind keeping it on the feet. Ugh. I think this is tighter than anyone's given it credit for. Holly Holm is, styles make fights, and that really, Amanda Nunes is like the times 10 version of a Bethe Correia. They almost have a very similar, Amanda Nunes is times 10 better everywhere, but it's that similar style of just like coming in aggressively, and that is like almost the perfect setup for a head kick.
Did you just call the champ the GOAT? Did you refer to her in the Bethe Correia in the same
I didn't mean like that. I just mean like that same Ronda Rousey aggressiveness. That
she walks into the punch.
Yeah, I was just trying to use the most recent and not bring up the RR.
I'm saying I don't think that happens because Shevchenko kind of needed that same game plan, and she didn't walk into any of those.
Shevchenko doesn't usually tend to. She usually like teeps a lot, leg kick. She doesn't tend to be the head kicker Holly Holm is.
Sure.
Like Holly Holm, like that's her bread and butter from like her OG.
Oh yeah, that's how she finishes everyone. It's a head kick. That's
OG. I think Amanda Nunes is awesome. She's obviously training for it. Her body looks great. She's beaten everyone in the business. I just think this is closer than anyone thinks. I have Nunes' decision right now. I am going to play Holly in places. She's like my... And I could see myself changing to Holly. I want to look at every part of this. We also know Amanda Nunes is notoriously has problems making weight. We also know she has cyanitis, and that's a problem in the desert air, especially maybe in the summertime. Like
that wasn't Amanda Nunes, was it?
Yeah, remember she canceled the other fight with Valentina Shevchenko.
Oh, that's right. That's true. That's true.
I just wanted to, I love Amanda Nunes. I know she's beaten monsters, but Holly Holm, her tentativeness is what doesn't pay off for her.
Exactly.
If something works out, if something's clicked in her brain, which with Megan Anderson, not even close to as threatening as Amanda Nunes, especially on the ground, not even close. But we saw Holly Holm not even want to stand with her. For the first time, she was coachable enough to just take her down. This girl has 0 ground game. We can't find even any tape where she has any ground game. Nunes' decision. I'm giving Holly some cred here.
I got a decision as well. This is going to be a 5-rounder. So as far as DraftKings, we have to take that into. But as we're saying,
I'm awful picking on both these ladies, though. I have to put it out there because I'm a Chev lover.
So yeah, they're automatically competition.
Yeah.
So you got to pick against them naturally. But we have a big favorite in the champion coming in with a -325 favorite against the +250 for Holly Holm. On DraftKings, you're going to end up paying $9,100 for Nunes against $7,100. It's really hard to not play these 5-rounders just because of the potential for such big points in here. And in this one, I'm going to actually not have tons of exposure in a 5-rounder. It's really rare, but I can't play Holly Holm because, as you're saying, the tentativeness and the low strike accuracy, because she throws a lot, but she doesn't hit as often. It's not going to be worth a lot of points. She can sit in that 27 range before in 5-rounders against Shevchenko and Darren Dami, where Nunes has a potential to knock out any round, any time, and actually has a bit higher strike accuracy. So I'm going to play Nunes, but it's going to be in that 30%. And for a 5-rounder, I'm usually like 60% for 5-rounders or more.
Yeah.
Luckily, we're going to have the main event.
Those kiosks and points, Holly Holm, as cheap as she might be, with that kind of 7-1, she's 40 points.
I don't know. I think she's in like that 29-point range, even with a loss.
Even 29, 7-1, you might need a Holly Holm on your card. You might need someone that doesn't get brutalized. A 5-round, she's more than 29. That's more than 29 for a 5-round.
But I think that she gets hit and goes, fuck this, and just turns in Theodoros.
I don't know. I think that power fades on Amanda.
I like what you're saying. I don't think you're wrong there. I
feel like I'd never bet with Holly. This is odd.
Well, you have Nunes a decision so far, so
yeah.
So it is what it is. On to the main event at 205 pounds. We have the GOAT, the greatest of all times, Johnny Bones Jones coming against Thiago Santos, who used to be an 85er, who, like Luke Rockhold, moved on up to 205 and has really been showcasing his skills. A 21-6 fighter, has only had a loss in his last 5 fights to David Branch, TKO, but as of late ended up beating Kevin Holland, ended up beating Eric Anders, Jimmy Manawa, and Jan Blachowicz, TKO 4 months ago. Santos, we know what comes in with Maheta Santos in there. Not only is Palaviana Vienna in his corner, his girlfriend over at ATT, but he comes in with a heavy...
Go him!
100...
He's laying the hammer.
Definitely making it work in there. Santos comes in with a heavy overhand right, a check left hook that hurts a lot of guys in there. Actually, Thiago Santos' left hook has actually probably been, I think, his number one punch. Yeah, he'll finish you off with that right, but it's usually because he stumbles you. Even moving off of his back foot or forward, he just has power in that left hand. And I do think a lot of people don't tend to see it. Coming out of the Tata fight team, he's been at top team for a little while now. Takedown defense has always been minuscule. The hard thing with Thiago Santos is getting to his legs to get that takedown. Usually have to eat an uppercut, a knee, a body kick, something on the way in. A lot of people can't handle that. With that type of power, he always scares people in there. But Johnny Bones Jones has notoriously been able to turn people power right against them and usually work it to his advantage. John Jones has notoriously beat wrestlers at wrestling, beat strikers at striking, beat guys on the cage, beating everybody who's anybody. Officially, John Jones is starting to get overturned. They're trying to overturn his one-loss disqualification to Matt Hamill. Did you hear Dana White tapping that off throughout the week?
Because he wants to say he's undefeated.
Right. Everybody knows who knows is that he's never been beaten there. Ever been beat. Hamill won that fight. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
You do not overturn that for some garbage-ass freaking black. So, technically, Daniel Cormier won one as well.
We all let Khabib still be the champ, even though it's been over a year, and he beat a guy who...
1 day's notice.
Yeah, like, come on.
Exactly.
Come on now. These are the rules. You can't change them. You can't change them.
But other than that, John Jones, I mean, he is what people mimic. I mean, when young fighters are usually talked about as if they're good at all, they usually get referenced in, he's a lot like John Jones. He is the pinnacle of the sport, regardless of all of his other crazy lifestyles and everything that may happen. And we still got a full week. John Jones is a living legend, and we are going to keep seeing him fight at 31 years old. I mean, he's a better striker.
If we both see this going, and we've broken down John Jones, what is just tell me exactly how you see it going.
If there's 2 avenues for John Jones,
yeah.
He likes to do one of 2 things, which usually he beats you at your striking because he's like, oh, I'll show you I'm a better striker than you. But that was earlier in his career. Now he started to more realize that he's a good takedown artist and he can really beat guys on the ground. So if he doesn't choose to strike with Santos, which I think is a very stupid thing to do, which he doesn't do, and he rarely gets hit in there, he goes to his ground game, and on the ground, he's going to eat Santos alive.
How do you see him getting takedowns?
Double leg takedown, even outside trip. Doesn't really matter. John Jones will even trip you with that clinch. He'll like to step over and throw those judo, like half little Ishigari trips. I mean, whatever way John Jones wants to, he's the better grappler by leaps and bounds. And that's
you just think nasty elbows on the ground?
Exactly. Once it's on the ground, you can see how, even off of his back, I think John Jones can get to full mount and go for a triangle, end up on his back, but he's so deep, it's a triangle finish.
How quickly do you see this happening?
I do give Santos a little bit of credit. I'm thinking 2 or 3. I think that doesn't go... The further it goes, the better it gets for John Jones. But I think Santos blows his load because he knows he has to try to finish him. Most dangerous, round 1. After round 1, it's just a matter of time till John Jones finishes. But I do think this is inside the distance. I don't see this going on 5 rounds.
I don't see it going 5 rounds. We'll cross that off.
Right.
I don't see it going 4 rounds.
Agreed. I have 3.
It could go 3.
I have 3 TKO. John Jones.
I see out of partial exhaustion, there could be a nasty cut. Nasty ass cut. Santos...
Are you saying Santos wins TKO over a cut?
Oh, no.
Ooh.
No, I actually have John Jones finishing as well, but I do think... Put money on Santos in 1.
We got to hedge your bets. On this one, he has that power.
He has that crazy power and just maybe the lighter guy, a little bit more quickness. He is small, and John Jones, we know he's watching that tape, and we know he sees the hole, and the guys that Thiago is beating are nowhere near the guys John Jones is beating. Whew. It's John Jones all day. I could even move it up to 2, but I think wherever you can afford John Jones, you put John Jones. He keeps it busy in there the entire time. I think even if he decides, like you were saying, John Jones beats strikers striking, he beats wrestlers wrestling. I think if John Jones wants to keep it on the feet, he can keep so much distance with teep kicks up the middle and leg kicks. I think that he can chew Thiago. I think he can take his power away in the first 3 minutes of the fight. Like, his leg can be numb in the first 3 minutes of the fight, and then he can just toy with him for as long as he wants, which we also know John Jones is a cruel motherfucker who could tool with someone for an extra 2 rounds just to do it. I don't know. I think John Jones likes to do permanent shit to you that you remember forever. That's from that John Jones fight.
Yep. The fighters talk about it all the time. Yeah. All the time. John Jones also being a DK master, averaging 96 points. And I was just looking, he's got 102, 115, 89, 90 points. Rarely has he scored under 90 points in any one of his fights. They're all heavy in there. The heavy favorite, minus 600 for John Jones. A lot of people see what we were seeing against a plus 400 Santos on DraftKings, the most expensive fighter of the entire night. John Jones, 9,600 against Thiago Santos, 6,600. I am going to be playing John Jones here wherever I can, but I feel like, honestly, I feel more confident with Naurdiev and Shahbazyan.
Wow. Just with point-wise, like, you feel like these... Because really, the goal is, anytime you play, if you're playing like a DK, is breaking that 100.
Exactly.
Breaking that 100. And John Jones doesn't break the 100 a lot. He's a chess player.
Definitely in there. He can get the finish, but even then, out of the opponents, I feel like Santos has a better shot than people are giving him credit for. So that's why I feel like...
The plus 400?
Plus 400 for Thiago Santos. That's a huge
your boy's
underdog.
Plus 450, so other people feel that way too.
Well, who's my boy? Which boy? Masvidal?
No. Who your boyfriend?
Oh, no, minus. He's minus.
He's minus 450. That's what I mean, though. He's minus 450, and if John Jones is minus 400.
No, minus 600.
Oh, shit. Okay, never mind.
Exactly. So he's still a bigger favorite, but I say Santos has that type of power where I'm not as worried for those other guys. I feel like those other guys can run away with those fights much easier than John Jones, but it's going to be hard to put all 3 of them on there. So I'm honestly thinking I'm not going to go all in on John Jones. Like I'm saying, I like them young boys.
Yeah. So, yeah, if aliens have taken over the world, or if a weird fight has fallen out and a weird person's taken over, and we don't know anything about that, because we're going to get this out a little earlier, and it might even be a little earlier on YouTube, and so it'll be a little special gift. So, we're here to, make you money and make you laugh?
Definitely here to make you laugh.
Yeah, so that's it.
LaTB!